The Galactic Council chamber fell into an uneasy silence as Ambassador Desiree Chen walked to the central podium, her boots clicking against the crystalline floor with measured precision. Around her, representatives from 47 star systems watched with varying degrees of curiosity and condescension. The Vraxian delegates' tentacles twitched with barely concealed amusement, while the Keltorian ambassador's scales rippled in patterns that universally translated to dismissive indifference. Desiree had seen these reactions before. Humanity was still considered the newcomer, the primitive species that had stumbled into faster-than-light travel barely 2 centuries ago. What these ancient civilizations didn't understand, what they refused to understand, was that humanity's youth was not weakness. "Honored delegates," Desiree began, her voice calm but carrying an edge that made several translators pause. "I stand before you today not with a request, but with a final warning." The Vraxian delegate, Kathros, released a sound that the translators rendered as derisive laughter. "Another human complaint about territorial disputes? Perhaps you should return when your species has matured beyond its adolescent aggression." Desiree's expression didn't change. But those who knew humans well enough, the few who bothered to study them, recognized the dangerous stillness in her posture. "You mistake patience for weakness, Kathros, a common error among your kind." She activated the holographic display in the center of the chamber filled with images. 17 human colony worlds, each one showing the same story. Burned settlements, destroyed infrastructure, civilian casualties. The attacks had been subtle at first, disguised as pirate raids or unfortunate accidents. But humanity's intelligence networks were more sophisticated than the Council believed. For 3 years we have documented systematic attacks on human settlements along the Outer Rim. For 3 years we have brought evidence to this Council. For 3 years you have dismissed our concerns as paranoia or worse, as justified responses to human expansion. The Keltorian ambassador, Shirval, shifted uncomfortably. "The frontier is a dangerous place. Surely humanity understood the risks when—" "Save your platitudes," Desiree interrupted, and the sharpness in her voice made even the most arrogant delegates pause. "We have DNA evidence linking these attacks to Council-sanctioned military units. We have communication intercepts. We have testimony from defectors who couldn't stomach the slaughter of civilians anymore." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes, or equivalent sensory organs, of each delegate. "You attacked us because you thought we would break easily. Because in your ancient civilizations you've forgotten what it means to fight for survival. You've forgotten what desperation breeds." Behind her, the hologram shifted to show something new. A massive structure floating in the void between stars, its surface covered in weapons platforms that made even the most advanced Council warships look like children's toys. Project Damocles, humanity's response to 3 years of being hunted. The chamber erupted in outrage. Kathros rose from his seat, tentacles flailing. "This is a violation of the a treaty you violated first," Desiree said coldly. "When you authorized black operations against our colonies. When you decided that human lives were expendable in your political games. On Earth, in a classified command center buried beneath the Atlantic Ocean." James Walker watched the Council feed with grim satisfaction. As Fleet Admiral of humanity's Rapid Response Force, he had spent 3 years preparing for this moment. Around him, officers monitored tactical displays showing the positions of every human warship, every orbital platform, every hidden weapons cache scattered across their territory. "Sir, we're reading massive power spikes across all Council military installations," his tactical officer reported. "They're preparing to move against our ships." James didn't flinch. "Let them try. Initiate Protocol Nightfall. It's time they understood what humanity learned in our darkest hours. We don't start fights, but we sure as hell finish them." Across human space, dormant systems came online. Stealth mines that had been drifting in strategic locations for years activated their targeting systems. Autonomous defense platforms emerged from asteroid fields where they'd been hidden. And in orbit around 53 Council homeworlds, small objects that had been dismissed as survey satellites revealed their true nature as relativistic kill vehicles. Back in the Council chamber, Desiree continued, her voice carrying the weight of every human who had died in the shadows of this undeclared war. "You thought we were weak because we chose peace. You thought our restraint was fear. You couldn't have been more wrong. She gestured to the hologram, which now displayed the Council's own strategic assessments of their military strength. Beside each assessment appeared humanity's actual capabilities, and the disparity made several delegates pale, or whatever equivalent their biology allowed. "We knew we were outnumbered," Desiree said. "We knew we were outgunned by conventional measures. So we did what humanity has always done when faced with extinction. We adapted. We innovated. We prepared." The hologram showed cascading scenarios, each one demonstrating how humanity had found asymmetric solutions to every strategic problem. Nanite swarms that could disassemble ships from the inside out, quantum torpedoes that made shields irrelevant, bioweapons tailored to each Council species, held in secure storage but ready to deploy within hours. "You have a choice before you today," Desiree said, and her voice carried across the stunned chamber. "You can acknowledge your crimes against humanity. You can provide reparations. You can ensure that no human colony ever suffers attack again. Or," she paused, letting the weight of the moment settle over them all, "or we can show you exactly why every species in human history that tried to wipe us out ended up extinct. We are not asking for your mercy. We are not begging for justice. We are telling you that your patience has run out, and humanity's patience is dwindling to nothing." The Vraxian delegate finally found his voice. "You would threaten the entire Council? This is madness." "No," Desiree replied quietly. "This is humanity. We don't want war. We never wanted war. But if you force our hand, we will wage it with a totality that your ancient, comfortable civilizations have forgotten is possible. We will burn your worlds, shatter your fleets, and salt the earth where your empires stood. Not because we're cruel, but because we've learned that sometimes the only way to ensure peace is to make the cost of war too terrible to contemplate." In the command center on Earth, James watched as Council military forces began standing down, their commanders recognizing the trap they'd walked into, receiving surrender signals from 15 Council fleets, his communications officer reported. "The others are holding position but powering down weapons." James allowed himself a small smile. "Send word to Ambassador Chen. They're listening." Desiree received the message through her neural implant and nodded almost imperceptibly. "The Council will now vote," she announced. "Reparations and accountability or extinction. Choose wisely, because humanity is done being patient with those who mistake kindness for weakness." The vote was unanimous. Humanity had finally made itself heard, not through pleas or appeals, but through the simple demonstration of an uncomfortable truth, that the youngest species in the Council might also be the most dangerous when cornered. As Desiree left the chamber, she thought about all the colonists who had died waiting for justice. This victory was for them, and if the Council ever forgot this lesson, humanity would be ready to teach it again with even less patience next time. Humanity hadn't wanted to become the monster, but they'd learned from history. Sometimes you had to show your teeth to make peace possible. Their patience had been dwindling for 3 long years. Now finally it had paid off.